Good morning, beautiful practitioners. I've decided to make this very impromptu little video this morning because I'd like to address some of the issues, some of the conversations, really, the issues that have arisen through conversations that have been happening on Facebook, mostly this morning. It's super impromptu. I am sitting here on my veranda. I have my cup of tea and I don't have any makeup or any preparation, no script, nothing like that. I just purely want to try and create something for you that is going to address two of the main issues that I've been observing while I've been having a look at some of the conversations that are on Facebook this morning. So here it is, raw as can be. The first one I want to talk about is confidence. I'm hearing quite a lot of practitioners saying that the thing that they're feeling is restricting them from being able to get out there and start running their own practices and doing this wonderful thing that you love and that can change people's lives. Honestly, it changes people's lives every day. The feedback that we get from active practitioners and from students about the tools that are offered to you through the course clearly changes people's lives in a massive way. And you have the skills to go out there and do that. It appears that what a lot of people are lacking is the confidence to actually go and do that. So that's one of the things I want to talk to you about. The other thing that I want to talk to you about are the practicalities of actually getting started. I'm hearing people say, how do I attract clients? How do I actually take those first couple of steps and make this really begin to happen? And it's very much like a snowball. Once it starts happening, it takes off. So if you're really interested in how to overcome confidence issues and how to get started with getting your first few students and clients really rolling in the door, then go and get a piece of paper and a pen, because I'm going to give you some tools that I hope will help you to do that. Okay, let's first talk about confidence. When I first started doing this myself and became a meditation teacher and holistic counsellor, which is coming up for around 30 years ago, there was no training course. There was no way of going out and getting a certificate to say I'm a qualified meditation teacher or even a holistic counsellor at that point in time. These things were out there in those days. You know, they were really almost hippie-ish to think that you could go and help people to heal their lives and improve their health through meditation and holistic counselling. There wasn't anyone there for me to lay out a program to say, okay, learn this, do that, gather these tools, think about this, and develop in that way. So everything that I really had to do back in those days was about trial and error. It was about finding books, finding resources, finding mentors, and learning as I went and starting to see what sorts of things worked in people's lives, what sort of things people responded to in a really positive way, and developing a strong idea about what people really need and what it is they're looking for. And what I found was that it was empowerment. It was about education. It wasn't about telling people what they need to do or who they need to be. It was about showing people how they could make those decisions for themselves. It was about showing people where the tools were, these tools that we should be taught right from the word go, from childhood, but we're not. And that is in a lot of ways because we live in a society which is about compliance. It's about being part of a community where we need to be able to fit in and a lot of times do as we're told. Without going into that too deeply, a lot of what we learn about who we are and the value of ourselves is dependent on authority figures and other bodies. And this is where the birth of accrediting bodies comes from. Over time, well, back in those days, there used to be this saying, and some of you that are in my age group might even remember this, in the early dawn of holistic therapies and of us getting out there and saying, do you know what, I think that colour can heal, or vibration and sound can heal, or meditating can heal, and people going, okay. We had this thing that was, I am the qualification, and that meant that I know this in my soul, and I share this with you in all my vulnerability and all my honesty because I really believe that this works. And that worked in those days. Some people felt like they could resonate with that. And that's how holistic therapies was operated, really. Of course, I'm talking about the modern re-emergence of holistic therapies, because prior to the explosion of conventional medicine, of course, holistic therapies were the way that everything was. And there's another whole story about what happened to that and how modern medicine and science took over from what we were intrinsically taught throughout centuries. But then that's another story for another video. What we're talking about today is how you get to have confidence. What I'm trying to say to you is that in those days, we had to believe that what we were doing was right, and we only could measure that on the way that our clients and students responded. Over many years, 30 years of research, watching science, learning and experimenting, we've come to this place where basically what we have is the course material that you are working through, where it's laid out for you. And you will know, because you've done the course, that most of that asks you to look at these things and not just blindly accept information that I present to you, or that Bruce Lipton presents to you, or that, you know, Lisa Rankin presents to you, or anybody else. It's about questioning and really touching a place in yourself where you ask the question, do I believe in this? The bottom line is, and this is where your strength is what do you believe in? Do you believe that you have the knowledge and the tools to be able to take that to people if they will sit and listen to you and be open to what you have to say? Do you believe you have the ability to show them ways that can change their lives? Do you believe that when we provide people with the tools to explore, examine, and question in their own lives, that we set them in a great place to be able to start taking control of what's happening in their lives? Most of the depression, stress, lack of confidence, fear, and ongoing trauma that people have is due to a feeling of not being in control. And that's, again, a lot of the way that our society raises us. It raises us to believe that we need someone else to tell us if we're okay. We have, right through school, we have grading. We have things that say, yes, you're good enough, or no, you're not quite good enough, or you need more work to be good enough. But these things are false. These are not platforms that build happy, strong, self-empowered, and healthy societies. If they did work in that way, then we would be seeing an increase in wellness, a decrease in depression and anxiety. Whereas what we are seeing is that depression and anxiety are the diseases of our modern day. They are runaway, and the amount of people that are on antidepressants or suffering from depression and anxiety in some way or another are astronomical. So clearly, these paradigms that have been set up for us in our society that measure our value as people are not working. And that's where holistic counselling comes in. Holistic counselling and teaching meditation, both of them are education. The difference with holistic counselling is that when people come to us, we don't look to assess and analyse and tell them how they should be, tell them what box they should be fitting into. What we're doing is educating them. All you need to do is teach them what you have already learned. Think about some of the aha moments that you had while you were doing the course. Thinking about times that you read something and just went, yeah, you know, I know that in myself, but something was blocking that, and all of a sudden it becomes true for you. It becomes real for you, and it can often lead on to lots of other thoughts and experiences that you then take off and run with on your own. Not because I wrote, this is how you should think, but because I gave you the seed of a thought and you did the rest. You did it all by yourself. You put it together and you ran with it, and you grew and developed, and you knew that you had something that you could take to people and show them and give them the opportunity to do that same thing. I feel the big mistake that holistic counsellors make in their thinking that very much damages their confidence and their ability to actually go out and share this amazing knowledge that I didn't invent, but that I have discovered and that you have now discovered, and that we can take to other people to change their lives for the better because they choose to. I feel the mistake in the thinking is in believing that we actually have to take control of the situation somehow, that we have to fix them, that their achieving their goal is somehow up to us. But it isn't. And the minute we start to take authority in someone else's healing is the minute that we fail them as a holistic healer, for a start. And secondly, that we give ourselves this massive responsibility for somebody else's well-being that would scare anyone, and that isn't the path for us to take. We need to understand that all we have to do is provide them with, one, a safe environment where they can share their vulnerability, where they can talk about what's happening for them, where nobody is going to judge them. Judging doesn't just mean condemning. It doesn't just mean looking at their situation and going, well, I wouldn't have made that choice, or geez, you've really messed this up. Judging means not judging at all. It means accepting without any kind of even sympathy, to say to someone, wow, that's a shocking situation to be in, when they've told you their terrible story. Even that is judging, because when we do that, we're putting their experience, their life, on a level of what's okay and what's not okay. Everything's okay because this is where they are right now. And if they want to change where they are right now, then what we have is the ability to give them tools and experiences to explore that will allow them to make those changes. People do come to counsellors with the idea that you're going to do something miraculous that's going to change everything. That's because of the way that our society's conditioned us to believe that someone else has to do all the work, that we're not capable of doing that. You and I both know the truth is we are the only ones capable of doing that. You are the only person who can fix you, and I'm the only person who can fix me. And when those clients come to us, they are the only person who can fix them. And they've already done 60% maybe of the work by walking in the door. They've made a decision that they're going to change. All we have to do as holistic counsellors is provide them with, as I said, the safe environment that's non-judgmental, where they don't have to be candid, where they don't have to go, no, it isn't that bad, or where they don't have to feel embarrassed, where they can just be who they are. The second part is that we provide them with tools, information. Do you know how many people have no idea about the fight and flight response? Oh, they've heard about it in movies, or, someone got heaps of strength and lifted a car off somebody because of fight and flight. But they don't know the real story. They don't know about all of the things that happen in your body when you go into stress. They don't know that the subconscious brain manages that response, and that it can't tell the difference between what's actually happening and a memory or a projection into the future. They don't know that they can control that, and that anxiety and depression that they're feeling is actually something that they can control. In fact, in our modern day society, they're encouraged to believe they don't have any control over that. We don't need to change their mind. We only need to provide them with the education and the tools that allows them to explore for themselves so that they can change their own mind. And the third thing we need to give them is encouragement, inspiration, support, to be there, to listen to what happened for them when they went home and tried the life bubbles exercise, or when they did the stress journal, or whatever it is that was the tool that we were particularly working with them. When they started using the full body relaxation and they did that all week, or when they created sanctuary and went into it every night, or when they used the gratitude journal, all we have to do is listen to how that was for them. If it hasn't worked for them, then all we need to do is talk about what their experience was, because perhaps they've not done something correctly. And then we can clear that up and say, right, okay, try it this way. Or we can see that this particular exercise might not particularly blend with that person's personality. For example, and this is very general, but as a general rule, women will enjoy doing the life bubbles exercise where you're drawing bubbles and you're writing topics for your life like my relationships, my career, my finances, and filling in the life bubbles exercise, because we tend to be more creative in that way. Whereas men, coming from often and generalizing a more intellectual mind, will prefer the other life exercise where you're actually writing things down in columns. And the title of that exercise has left my mind at the moment, but hopefully you'll know which one I mean. Women might go more for affirmations, whereas men sometimes will work better with gratitude journaling. And these are very general. It works very differently for different people. And bear in mind, some people have had negative experiences with some of these tools, like affirmations and meditation. If they've been introduced to it previously by someone who didn't have the complete picture, they may have tried to use affirmations and found that it's useless and felt like all they were doing was pretending that everything was okay when it wasn't. What we need to do is give them the whole picture of how the brain works and why affirmations can work. And if you don't believe in those tools yourself, then we need to work more on that for you to, one, either decide that that particular tool is one that really doesn't gel with you and therefore you're not in a position to confidently hand that on to others, or to find out if there's some area in this program you've got running that's blocking you from receiving the full benefit of that tool and sharing it with others. That's why we have ongoing practitioner support, so that we can continue to work through things and your education doesn't ever really stop. As healers, the minute we feel our education has stopped is the minute we start to decline. This is an ongoing, forever process of self-education, of connected group education, and of ongoing learning so that you can become the best possible counsellor and practitioner that you could possibly be. So when you think about what you need confidence for, I feel that's often associated with that fear of being the responsible one. Pardon me, being the person that's got to fix this. Someone walks through your door and they could have some massive trauma going on and you're feeling like, I've got to fix this, and how am I going to fix this? This problem's too big. But you don't need to fix this. In fact, the minute you start thinking you need to fix it, you're failing your client and you're failing yourself. You are not responsible for anybody else's healing. You can't be. It's not possible. The minute you take on that responsibility, you disable your own ability to provide them with the strength, empowerment, and tools they need to do it for themselves. So, one, what is the root of your lack of confidence if that's what you're experiencing? Does it come down to you feeling like you have to fix people? Does it come down to you feeling like you don't know your work well enough? Do you need to go back through your course material and really work through some of the areas that you might have skimmed over in a hurry because you had to hand your submission in on Monday and it was Sunday night? You know, is there something you've missed that you haven't really felt like you've got a really good grip on? It's there for you to continually go over. Is there some area that you need to remind yourself about why you got into this in the first place? We're surrounded by people telling us that conventional ways are the way to go. Look, that argument is always going to be there. It doesn't matter which side of the coin you choose to land on. If you in your heart know that holistic well-being, and I mean body, mind, and spirit, are the way to go when it comes to healing, if you know that, then everybody who tells you that isn't so, and that there's some other path that is the conventional government approved of path, you've got to rise above that and really go back to what you feel in your heart, because that's where the truth lies. The minute, and I see practitioners who go onto another road and decide that they need to have some sort of government qualified Medicare approved of qualification, and they go and do that, and they come back sometimes years later and really feel like they've taken a detour that they didn't need to take And what they went and learned was that all the ways that don't work, basically. We've got some great leaders that teach us wonderful things, including Maslow, who doesn't gel with everybody, and by all accounts, he wasn't a very lovely person on a personal level. But hey, that's just documentaries and hearsay. But he had some really great ideas, as did many of the other fathers of holistic psychology. And if you've done your certificate and you really want to get into counselling and you're feeling like you haven't got the skills, then do the advanced holistic counselling module. You know, it's only 4 weeks full-time or 8 weeks part-time. It's $220 to do. That is going to be like 2 or 3 clients for you to replace that course fee, and it focuses very much on how to feel like and behave like and be a really professional holistic counsellor. It's up to you to continue your education, and it's up to you to stay grounded in what drove you to this path in the first place and maintain your confidence. So issue 1 is not trying to be a psychologist and take responsibility for somebody else's life and their well-being. Remember, you don't have to accept anybody. I'm just going to have to pause this for a moment and come back to you. I'm sorry, my battery started running flat. I told you this was impromptu, right? Okay, so 1, confidence is often betrayed by feeling as though you're going to be the healer, the boss, the leader. You're not. You're going to be the educational partner. You don't have to know everything all the time. It's good to have a backup plan. If you get in over your head, it's good to have a backup plan where you can say, okay, this is what I'd like you to do this week. I'd like you to do the relaxation exercise. I'd like you to do the breathing exercise, whatever it is, whatever you give people out of your holistic counselling toolbox is going to make a difference. It is going to make a difference to them. And you can call us. We are here, and we do take calls from practitioners that are talking about all sorts of different subjects. I had a call from a practitioner recently, and you'll know who you are, because she was about to go into a counselling session with a terminally ill client. The client was wanting assistance in accepting her imminent death, right? Not a pretty thing to have to go into. And the practitioner, our Inner Voyage practitioner, was wanting to make sure that she went into that confident. So we had a chat about that. And what we talked about first is your intention. And intention is number 1. You know, what is your intention? If you sit down before every counselling session and every meditation class and say, what is my intention here? Then you will remember that your intention is to allow other people to become self-empowered and to make decisions for themselves. Everybody is capable of that. Just not everybody remembers that they're capable of doing that. Okay, so try some of those things. I'm going to do lots more work on developing confidence, but I think that it's really important to remember that this field that we work in is ancient but reborn. And in our society where so many people have just gotten so used to running to doctors and running to psychologists and being told what's wrong with them. Oh, you've got bipolar. Oh, you've got this. You've got multiple personality disorder. Blah, 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 you know, there's all these things, ADD, you name it. The bottom line is that everybody's so disempowered and has been convinced that they have no ability to control their own mind, that everything becomes out of control for them and they suffer with stress-related illnesses, depression, anxiety. They believe they're not capable of healing themselves. It's our job to just simply teach them the skills and tools that you've learned so that they can begin to heal themselves again. Nobody else can, only they can. So that was the first thing that I wanted to talk to you about. And the other thing that we will do some more work on that incidentally. Excuse me, my throat is drying out. I told you, completely impromptu. The other thing that we were going to talk about is how to start getting things happening. How do I get my practice? Look, procrastination is an amazing thing, and I might be doing it now. um, the first thing to have is a plan, right? You need to have a plan about what you want to have happen. It's really interesting to me that I hear, and this is sort of crossing the two subjects over, that I hear a lot of people who say, oh, my skills aren't recognised, or, there was a subject on Facebook that was someone looking to be employed in a counselling environment and saying, oh, I can't join the professional counselling associations, my holistic counselling skills aren't recognised. No, of course they're not. Just as much as I wouldn't even consider employing someone, say, in our practitioner support area or in our student training area, whose qualifications were in professional conventional counselling. No way. They have no idea about most of the stuff that we work with. We can get on anywhere onto YouTube and watch how you do all of these techniques that have been developed and use professional counselling skills, but they don't work. There's personal opinion for you, but obviously I believe that, or I wouldn't have dedicated my life to creating holistic well-being courses and trying to train people like you to be able to go out there and take them to people. I don't believe they work, and I think there's a lot of evidence to back up that opinion. So we're in a different realm, and the people who come to us are people who oftentimes have gone through all of that. The conventional stuff. One of our beautiful practitioners wrote about how she spent 10 years in under psychologists and trying to deal with a very traumatic childhood, and she never got anywhere. And she said that she cried tears of joy when she started reading through her first couple of modules of her course, because she felt like she'd finally found her way. And we hear stories like this all the time. And we hear stories from practitioners about their students and clients. There was a lady, a practitioner was seeing a lady who had been abused all through her childhood. She rang me because the woman couldn't meditate, because when she was being sexually abused by a close family member during her childhood, she would leave her body and close down and do a form of meditation to survive mentally and emotionally. So she related meditation to being back in that horrendous and traumatic place. So we talked about different kinds of meditation, and clearly they were going to be meditations that kept her in the present, like Zen. But while we were talking, what we discovered over time, we continued to communicate about this client. 6 years she'd been seeing the same psychologist about her problems. 6 weeks after she saw our practitioner, she felt like her whole life had changed and that she was fine and she was healed. Because she had been shown the way to take responsibility for her own healing. For as long as we ask people to hand their healing over to someone else, there's no healing can be done. The minute we start to show people that they can heal and give them the tools that help them heal themselves, then we begin to do our work. You need to remind yourself of this every day. That will help you have confidence as well, and help you to believe that the things that you have to offer people can truly make a difference, and fight for it. Fight for your belief in the fact that what you have to offer can genuinely help people change their lives, regardless of what psychologist, what doctor, what government or authority tells you that isn't so. They are just the people that need to be coming to see you. They are so lost in their belief systems and generally not very happy and often on antidepressants. Decide who you want your authority to be. And if it's people that are happy and healthy and living lives that give back to other people, then you'll choose role models that most definitely and without question encourage you to use holistic ways and mind, body, spirit kinds of medicine. Okay, I'm going to make a different video about how to get started on your getting your classes and your clients together. This one's turned out to be really very much about confidence, and I need to stop now because my throat is drying out, and there's also a big family of massive green ants that are starting to make their way towards where I'm sitting, and so I think it might be a good time to finish up. Like I said, look, totally impromptu. I really do hope that you get something out of it. Please know that Kerry and I and the rest of the team are always here to support you. It is our absolute life's purpose to spread this word, and this word is everybody has the ability to heal themselves of anything, and that as a collective community, we can support each other in making that the majority, making that the norm in our everyday life. And so have an awesome day. Think a lot about confidence, and we'll talk more about this. And I'll make another video about how to get started on your practice if you haven't done so already. Okay, have an awesome day.